have a word?
In a minute, all right?
Okay.
How are you feeling?
Terrible.
It'll soon be over. You've done all you can now. You've just got to stand back and trust the system. Let's look, get it right more often than not.
He wants to talk to me.
No, it was nothing. Sorry.
Hello, Andy. How are you this morning?
You're a lot calmer now, aren't you?
We all know how difficult it is for you. The judge, or even Hillary over there. She's not your enemy. She just wants you to tell the court what you know. Do you understand? We can't have a repetition of yesterday's behaviour. No more storming out of court. All right?
You know that, don't you?
Okay.
Oh, that poor lad. I do hope they don't give him a bad time.
Yeah. I know he shouldn't have done what he did yesterday, but he was under enormous pressure.
Well, is there any wonder when what he and Robert says can put their own dad in prison?
That's what you think, is it?
Well, you heard the evidence, same as me. I never thought Jack had done it, but well, after yesterday, I'm not so sure.
I don't want Andy putting in that situation again.
The prosecution have a right to question him.
But you saw the state he was in. That's not right, not for a lad his age. And how do we know what he'll do today? He could get himself into serious trouble.
I've just spoken to him. He seems a lot more settled this morning.
Yes, you say that. But once they start asking questions, they don't stop, do they? Not till they get the answers they want.
No, Jack. They stop when he tells them everything he knows. It's as simple as that.
What if I change my plea?
What?
Well, we're going to lose anyway, aren't we? They might go easy on me if I tell them I did it.
But you didn't.
Yeah, but I don't want Andy to go through all that again. Don't you understand?
That's no reason to admit to a crime you didn't commit. If you're telling me that you killed Sarah, then I'll have to tell Jeffrey, and we can no longer represent you. But I don't believe you did. Did you? Jack?
No.
Hold your nerve. We're still in with a good chance.
I would say I was just passing, but I wasn't. I came on purpose. I thought you might be feeling a bit hemmed in.
Not really. I'm quite good at being on my own. Not that I am. I've got Victoria to keep me company.
Yeah, of course. Where is she?
She's upstairs having a bit of a nap. Didn't sleep very well last night. By the way, I didn't mean to imply that I'm not pleased to see you because I am.
Is this Victoria's family?
Yeah. That's Jack, Andy, Robert and Victoria and the farm in the background.
It all ends happily ever after at that age, doesn't it?
I think I'd find it hard to convince Victoria of that.
Yeah, I suppose. What about your family?
What about them?
Well, I thought I might meet them, say hello.
Oh, I don't know. You see, my family, what you might call my family, it's a very complicated situation.
I'm sorry. Am I being presumptuous?
No, I didn't say that.
Emily? Are you in there?
Oh, dear.
What's the matter?
Emily?
Please, go through to the lounge. I'll explain later.
I'll read a book.
Oh, hello, Emma, love. I was beginning to think you must have gone out.
No.
Aren't you and him, I'm in?
Yes, of course.
Well, now that I'm here, I won't say no to a cup of tea.
I'll put the kettle on.
I know this is upsetting for you, Andy, but I have to ask you a few more questions, and you have to answer them truthfully. You do understand that, don't you?
Yeah.
You love your father, don't you?
Of course I do.
And so you should. He adopted you, gave you a home and a family. He's done everything for you. And now I think you're trying to repay him, aren't you?
What do you mean?
I think you're trying to protect him. Am I right?
My lord, I fail to see the point of this line of questioning. I thought we were trying to establish what happened on the night of the fire.
I agree. You don't have to answer that question.
You told us yesterday that when the fire broke out, you were upstairs in the house and your father was downstairs.
Yeah.
And that when you got to the barn, your father was already there.
He didn't set fire to it.
But he was there. And you can't be certain how long he'd been there, can you?
He didn't do it.
Please answer the question.
Why? You don't believe anything I say.
All I want you to do is tell the truth.
I know what you want me to say. You want me to say that my dad did it. That my dad killed my mum. But he didn't. I know he didn't. That's the truth. But you don't believe me, do you? Do you?
I believe you'd do anything to protect your father.
He didn't do it. He couldn't have done it. I know he didn't. I know.
That's enough. Silence in court.
With respect, my lord, I see little point in continuing to question this witness. It will cause him more distress and tell us nothing new.
I must say, I'm inclined to agree.
I want to say something.
Silence in court.
Please, it's important.
Silence! I will not tolerate this kind of behaviour. Would you inform Mr. Carter that if there are any more interruptions, he will be held in contempt of court? And the same applies to you, Mr. Sugden.
Can't have been easy for you this week of all weeks.
No. I've been thinking about Butch a lot.
So have we all, love. Well, that's why I'm here. Lisa and me having a get-together tomorrow to remember him. Say a few words. You know, with it being a year to the day since he died.
And our first wedding anniversary.
Oh, that's right, aye. Any road, we'd like you to join us. If you could maybe make some other arrangements for Victoria. What do you say?
Yes, I'm sure I can. And I'd like to come.
Good lass.
You know, I'll never betray his memory. I'll never stop loving him.
I know that.
But he was such a kind man. He wouldn't want me to brood. He'd want me to be happy and make new friends.
You will, someday.
And you wouldn't mind if I did, would you?
Of course not. But don't fret. It'll happen, all in good time. Once you've had a chance to get over Butch. In the meantime, you stick with Lisa and me. We'll look after you.
I know, and I'm very grateful.
Hey, it cuts both ways, Emily. Having you around it. Well, it helps us come to terms with losing Butch.
I'm glad.
Angie, I want to change my evidence.
What?
What I said in there before, it wasn't the truth. I mean, I wasn't lying, it's not exactly the way it happened.
Just a minute, Richie. You shouldn't be telling me this. I'm involved, remember?
So who can I tell? Please, Angie, you've got to help me.
Are you absolutely serious about this?
I'll shout it out in court if I have to. I don't care about contempt. They can do what they want to me.
OK. Yeah, you can change your evidence. You'll need to give another statement to a police officer, one who isn't involved in the case. Then he'll tell the two briefs, they'll tell the judge, and he'll decide whether it's worth hearing in court.
Oh, it is? It'll make all the difference.
Richie, I just told you I don't want to know.
Oh, I'm sorry. So what we've got to do, go find a police officer?
Prosecution clerk. He'll set things in motion.
Thanks, Angie.
Why did Richie shout out like that?
I don't know.
Well, I don't understand it. He's already said he saw my dad lighting the fire. What else can he say?
Shut up, will you? Just shut up!
Get lost!
Hey, listen, you two. Arguing isn't going to get us anywhere, is it?
Well, tell him to shut up, then.
Rob was just wondering about Richie's behaviour, that's all.
Yeah.
What's the point?
The point is our dad could be in prison for the next 20 years. That's the point.
No, he won't.
How do you know? Don't be so stupid.
All right, that's enough. I know you're both upset, You're worried about your dad, and you've had a horrible time in the witness box, but that's over. We don't know what's going to happen, do we? It's out of our hands. So let's just be patient and hope for the best. Yes?
My lord, I urge you to allow the jury to hear Mr. Carter's new statement.
You would say that, Geoffrey.
It could significantly affect the outcome of the case.
Which is why I think Miss Browning is reluctant for me to allow it.
Why has he changed his statement? Why now?
Does it matter?
Yes, I think it does. The trial's been very stressful for him. Reminded him of the loss of the woman he loved. Made him question his state of mind at the time of the fire. But most importantly, he's clearly been influenced by Andy Sugden. And I wonder how much credence we can give to the words of an emotionally damaged 14-year-old.
Oh, I thought he held up rather well today, in spite of your efforts to browbeat him.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton-Jones.
Mr. Carter is reinventing history. His original statement is more likely to be the truth.
I think we should let the jury decide that. I'm inclined to hear what Mr. Carter has to say. May I remind you that you are still under oath?
My lord, I've no questions at this point and should like to tender the witness to the defence.
Mr. Carter, I understand you've made a new statement concerning the events of November the 16th of last year. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'd like you to tell the court what you said in that statement. Mr. Carter.
Sorry. That night when me and Sarah were in the barn, we heard somebody coming. We thought it must be Jack. Sarah was terrified that he'd find us there, so we hid. We heard him moving about. And then, when we realised what was happening with the fire, we knew it must be Jack. I mean, he must have seen us going in there. He'd already threatened to kill Sarah. It had to be him. But I didn't see him.
Mr. Carter, this is very important, so I'd like you to be absolutely clear about it. At no time did you see the defendant either entering the barn or starting the fire?
No. I said I had. I suppose I'd convinced myself it was him because he hated us. Sarah had left him for me, and I wasn't lying. And I wanted it to be him. I wanted him to suffer and to be punished for what happened to Sarah. But I didn't see him. I didn't.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. No further questions, my lord.
Mr. Carter, this trial must have been very painful for you. You loved Sarah Sugden, and you want to see justice done. But you don't want to see our children deprived of their father, do you? She wouldn't have wanted that, would she?
That's not why I changed my statement.
Then why did you change your statement? Has anyone put you under any pressure?
No, they haven't.
But in your original statement, you were convinced Mr. Sugden had started the fire.
I've just said that I made a mistake.
Do you know who started the fire?
My lord, my learned friend is inviting the witness to speculate.
Yes, she is. However, I think Mr. Carter's evidence is relevant. Answer the question.
I don't know. I really don't. All I know is I didn't see Jack in the barn, and that's God's truth.
No further questions.
Very well. The court will adjourn. We'll reconvene at 2 o'clock.
Court rise.
Will that help, Dad? What Richie just said?
Depends whether the jury believes him, Pep.
Let's just hope that they do.
You must have wondered why I asked you to leave the room when Zach arrived.
Yeah, I did. But I'm not very good with mysteries. I did read a book once on the Bermuda Triangle, but it wasn't much help.
Zach is Zach Dingle, Butch's dad, my father-in-law.
Why didn't you want me to meet him?
Since Butch died, the Dingles have looked after me. Well, almost adopted me, really. I've appreciated that. But I think I help them too. As long as I'm around, it keeps a bit of Butch alive.
I'm not being rude, but you've not really answered my question.
They're very good people. They want me to be happy. They know I'll make new friends one day, and they want me to.
And you don't think I'm the type of friend they've got in mind?
I think if they met you now, there might be the possibility of a misunderstanding.
Well, that'd be silly, wouldn't it?
I don't want to upset them. I think we'd better wait a while before I introduce you to them.
I don't mind waiting.
I better go see to Victoria.
It's easy to become emotionally involved when listening to a case like this. But you must put your feelings to one side and consider the facts. We know the fire was started deliberately. The defendant threatened to kill his wife the evening before she died. A pair of gloves belonging to the defendant was found near the scene of the crime. Those gloves were fire damaged and bore traces of petrol. The defendant was at the barn several minutes before either of his sons arrived, giving him ample time to start the fire. All these facts are beyond dispute. Now, consider the enormous pressure he was under. His wife had left him for a man less than half his age. He'd lost custody of his daughter. His farm was failing, and it was a struggle just to keep his head above water. So imagine how he felt that night when he heard his wife and her lover in the barn, a few yards from his house. Imagine the rage he must have felt. I put it to you, the defendant started the fire with the intention of killing both Sarah Sugden and Richard Carter. And when you consider the facts, as I've asked you to, I suggest you will reach that conclusion. Therefore, I ask you to return a verdict of guilty.
Oh, I'm sorry, my love. Did I wake you?
Oh, no, it's all right. I wasn't really asleep. There was no one in the bar, so I thought I'd pop through for a bit of a rest. I'd best get back, though.
No. You stay there. I'll take care of the bar if anyone arrives.
Oh, you're so good to me, Ash.
Anything I can get you? Cup of tea? Bite to eat?
Oh, a cup of tea would be nice.
Right. Any news from the trial?
Oh, yes. Mum rang while you were out, very excited. It seems that Richie's changed his evidence.
I didn't know you could do that.
No, well, apparently you can. And he's told the court that he didn't actually see Jack setting fire to the barn.
Seems a strange thing to do.
Yeah, well, it certainly cheered Mum up. Oh, she was in a terrible state last night. After Richie's first statement, she more or less convinced herself that Jack must have done it.
I never believed that.
No, me neither. But everything did seem to be stacked up against him. Maybe now he's got a chance of getting off.
My learned friend has asked us to consider the facts of the case. Very well. But here's one fact she didn't mention. On the night before his wife died, the defendant discovered that his 6-year-old daughter had been wandering alone in the middle of the night through the village. He was furious. He loved his daughter. He expected his wife to take care of her. He went into the pub and he told his wife exactly what he thought of her. He didn't choose his words very carefully, but that doesn't make him a killer. He has told us, under oath, that on the night the fire started, he was asleep in the house. He may have got to the barn before his sons, but that doesn't make him a killer. No. The only piece of evidence that directly implicated Jack Sugden was the original statement of Richard Carter. But Mr. Carter now tells us he was wrong. He didn't see Jack Sugden entering the barn or starting the fire. So what do we have left after considering the facts? Nothing. There is not one piece of evidence which proves conclusively that Jack Sugden killed his wife. Not one. Indeed, at the time she died, he was struggling, as he always has done, to build a future for the children he loved so much. He wouldn't deprive them of their mother, no matter how much hurt he felt. Nor would he risk being sent to prison, where he'd be unable to care for them. He's lost nearly everything over the past couple of months. Don't deprive him of his liberty for a crime he did not commit. I ask you to find him not guilty.
It's bad enough you working behind the bar, but you have to dress like some refugee from the Great North Run.
Healthy body, healthy mind. Exercise gets rid of a lot of impurities. You should try it sometime, Mrs. Birch.
Any more news from Diane?
Mum's just been on the phone. You know Richie's changed his evidence.
I bet you rang and told me.
It made quite an impression, apparently. But then the prosecution woman made her final speech, and she was very persuasive.
So which way does she reckon it's going to go, then?
It don't matter what we think, does it? It's up to jury.
Yeah, but they're bound to find him not guilty. I mean, we all know that he didn't do it, don't we?
Don't start, Edna.
Well, Mum says it could go either way. We'll just have to wait and see.
I would remind you that it is the task of the prosecution to prove guilt, not for the defence to prove innocence. Now, you have to choose, in the light of the evidence that you have heard, between two very different versions of what happened on the night of November the 16th. Did the defendant discover the barn on fire and desperately try to rescue his wife and Mr. Carter? Or did he deliberately set fire to the barn in the knowledge that his wife and Mr. Carter were inside with the intention of killing them both? That is the decision you have to make.